left in the dark.
Heartbroken, devastated.
Jeffco parents upset over plans to close their children's schools.
There's a lot of emotion. It's a big deal.
Tonight we're learning many say they had no idea it was even being considered.
I would say that they're trying to tread lightly.
Holding on to hope for justice.
Joe is a person who meant a lot to a lot of people.
2 years after a man is murdered on an Inglewood bike path, loved ones pray his killer will be put behind bars.
The fact that this is where his life ended it's ugly and it's hard.
Parents in Jeffco say they feel blindsided by the school district's announcement that it plans to close more than a dozen schools.
Now, the district announced Thursday a proposal to close these 16 elementaries. If approved by the school board in November, those schools will be shuttered before next fall.
This evening, Denver 7's Brian Wang talked with several parents devastated by the district's proposal. Brian?
Well, we knew it was just a matter of time before we heard from concerned parents, because we're talking more than 2,400 students that would be impacted if these schools did in fact close. So tonight, some parents told me they are just scrambling right now to figure out their next steps.
This school is on the list of the proposed schools to be closed by Jeffco next year.
But parents we spoke to say it doesn't sound like a proposal.
The vibe is, this is a done deal.
That was Raven Faber's takeaway from a meeting held at Sheridan Green Elementary, where 2 of her children attend. The school's principal spoke with about 20 concerned parents who just learned about the possible closures.
And there are a few parents in there who just look straight up worried and emotional.
One of them was Lisa Kroll.
Heartbroken, devastated. She's will be in 5th next year, which is why it's such a big deal. These are the friends she's known and the teachers she's known from kindergarten through 4th grade.
District officials say the closure recommendations come as student enrollment rates have been declining for 20 consecutive years, impacting school budgets.
We have gotten to situations where, schools no longer have full-time art, music, and PE teachers.
Another factor, the number of parents who enroll their children at schools outside of their neighborhood elementary school, like Kristen Ganaway.
My neighborhood has a ton of grade school kids in it, and I can't think of one of them that goes to Peck, which is within walking distance.
For Ganaway, choicing out came down to the low ratings at Peck Elementary, and she's not the only one doing it. Officials say the choice out rate is 57% at schools recommended for closures, and next year, even more parents will have some choices to make.
There are a number of parents who are not pleased.
Now again, these recommended closures aren't official yet. The school board will vote on them on November 10th, and if it passes, the closures will take place in the next school year. But here's the thing. The reason many parents think this will officially happen is because the school board asked the district to start this initiative amid mounting budget concerns. The principal at the school meeting tonight confirmed this. Live in the newsroom, Brian Wang, Denver 7.
All right, Bayan. And a big reason behind the decision to close the schools, the declining number of school-age children in the district. The district says the number fell by nearly 30,000 between 2000 and 2020. While the decline is being driven in part by lower birth rates, state demographer Elizabeth Garner says another contributing factor, the rising cost of living.
They're not having kids for a reason. A lot of it is that they're expensive. We're lacking childcare. It's also unaffordable in terms of housing.
And in Douglas County, voters in November will get to decide if their schools need more funding. The school board decided this week to add 2 questions to the ballot, one for a $60 million per year mill levy override and another for a $450 million bond. The mill levy would be used to increase teacher and staff pay by as much as 9%. The district says this will help with staff recruitment and retention.
We want our children to be exceptional, and in order for that to happen, we have to have exceptional people in our classrooms. And it is really hard when our teachers can drive down the street and make $18,000 a year more.
The bond measure would be used to build 3 new schools in growing areas and to maintain the district's current buildings. Both measures could face opposition. A recent poll by the district found only 39% of voters would vote yes. Meanwhile, bargaining between Denver Public Schools and the Teachers Union ended late last night without a deal. The current contract with the Denver Classroom Teachers Association expires on Wednesday. So talks will resume that morning, and Denver 7 will be tracking negotiations closely. Teachers are asking for a starting salary of $55,000 a year, cost of living increases, a stipend for serving on school committees, and extra duty compensation.
The Justice Department has released a redacted version of the affidavit supporting the FBI search of the estate of former President Trump. This heavily blacked out document reveals the FBI's investigation began in January after Trump's team turned over 15 boxes containing classified information, including material marked top secret. The FBI outlines how it determined more classified material was still inside Mar-a-Lago. That's Trump's South Florida estate. Those details are redacted in order to protect sources and witnesses. The affidavit also shows a warning sent to Trump's attorney in June, saying Mar-a-Lago was not authorized to house sensitive government material that could compromise national security. And then 2 months later, FBI agents executing a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago found more boxes of material, including more classified and top secret documents.
The FBI never would have gotten this search warrant approved unless they had an immense amount of information.
The redacted affidavit did not reveal what classified and top secret information was in the boxes of material taken from Mar-a-Lago. Now, as for the former president, he continues to deny any wrongdoing, claiming he has cooperated with the investigation, which he calls a witch hunt.
2 years. That's how long it's been since Joseph Hicks was stabbed to death near a busy bike path in Inglewood, and no one has been arrested in this case. Well, today, Denver 7's Amy Wada spoke with family and friends, holding on to hope that Joseph's killer will be brought to justice.
I took that photo. That was in April of 2015. We went on a camping trip to the Pawnee Buttes in northeast Colorado.
That photo sits in the very spot where 32-year-old Joseph Hicks was murdered 2 years ago. A makeshift memorial along Little Dry Creek Trail in Englewood, a place that brings up a lot of pain for those who loved Joseph dearly.
I hate being here. I hate thinking that this is where his life ended.
Joseph's mother, Marianne Hicks, says she can't bring herself to go there.
And I walked across the bridge, but I got to the middle of the bridge and something said, you know, turn around and go back.
Joseph Hicks was stabbed during a fight near this bike path in Englewood, just east of the South Platte River. Investigators say they have no new leads in this case and have a lot of questions that need to be answered. Englewood police say Joseph was murdered in broad daylight in the evening on August 25th of 2020 along South Platte River Drive. Investigators released this surveillance video from nearby business A&E Tire, which shows 3 males on bikes riding southbound near the bike path. About 30 seconds later, Joseph is also spotted heading south on a bike to the same location. According to a Metro Denver Crime Stoppers bulletin put out the next day, police wanted to talk with someone who may have picked up a male in the 1500 block of West Hamden Avenue shortly after the fight happened.
We saw the bikes. The pictures that were on the news.
I saw him maybe 4 times before that.
Marianne got the news of her son's death when police showed up at her door.
So numb that I couldn't even really think or do anything but sit and smoke and drink, honestly.
Friends say Joseph was incredibly talented. A musician who loved photography, but held a lot of pain inside.
Joe was living on the streets and battling addiction, and it made his life very difficult. And it has kept there from being a lot of attention on his death, but it did matter, and people who are living on the streets, their lives matter.
And what really bothers me is just that his killer is still out there. He was murdered in broad daylight, stabbed to death on a busy bike path.
It's the worst thing that ever could happen to a mother, and I never want this to ever happen to anybody else's child, and that's why I want this killer caught. We had an extremely close relationship. It was not only mother and son, but he was my best friend, and he always will be.
Englewood police are still seeking information and witnesses who saw the fight so they can determine Joseph Hicks's role. If you have any information, you can also call Metro Denver Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen, 720-913-7867. They are offering a $2,000 reward.
One person suffered minor injuries this morning when a 13-year-old girl on a joyride caused a crash involving a Boulder Valley school bus. The school district says one student was on the bus at the time. Neither the student nor the bus driver was hurt. Now, this crash happened about 8 o'clock in the morning at I-287 and Highway 52. State Patrol says that teen crashed into a car, injuring that driver, and then that car hit another vehicle. Then all 3 of those vehicles hit the school bus. Patrol says the 13-year-old driver was cited and released to her family.
Your Denver Broncos getting ready to put a bow on their preseason slate. They take on the Minnesota Vikings tomorrow at Empower Field. Gates open at 5, kickoff is at 7, and this will be the final chance for nearly 30 players to prove they deserve a spot on the team. NFL teams must cut their rosters from 80 to 53 players by the end of Tuesday.
Now, getting to the stadium tomorrow could be a little tricky for Broncos fans living east and northeast of Denver. Westbound I-70 is closed between I-270 and Brighton Boulevard all weekend long, so CDOT crews can put I-70 in its final configuration, part of the Central 70 project. And the CDOT cameras is near the I-25 exit, just outside that zone. The closure began just a few minutes ago, will be in place until early Monday morning, and you can find directions how to get around the closures right now at thedenverchannel.com.
We have some sad news to report tonight. Longtime Aurora Mayor Paul Tower has passed away. Current Mayor Mike Hoffman called Tower a champion for Aurora and a pillar of our history, referring to the growth of the city and the medical community that built up around the Anschutz campus. Paul Tower served as Aurora's mayor for 16 years. He was 86 years old.
Still some scattered storms. They should die down tonight. Things heat up for the weekend.
Golden getting a makeover.
It's going to bring a lot of economic development to Golden.
Businesses hoping for a boost as the city overhauls 5 blocks of downtown.
Local animal shelters facing a crisis. How you can help alleviate overcrowding at one of the shelters this weekend.